doing this live, but it's live now. So does it show you anything on your end? Can you see like the red
Yes,
live?
it just said the broadcast is live. It's
Nice.
official.
It's official, you guys. We're here.
We
Get
made
ready.
it.
Right. No technical difficulties. Everybody tuned in. I'm super excited about this episode. My girl is here. Kind of introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, where you're from. We're going to get all that stuff out of the way so we can get to the good stuff.
Okay. So my name is Maleigh McCloy, and I'm actually from Grenada, Mississippi, which is where Crispin is from. Correct. I didn't just make that up. Okay.
Yes, deep down
And
in the house.
yes, and I own a beauty lounge in Madison, Alabama, MLA Artistry, and it is dedicated to empowering women through services of hair and makeup artistry.
I love it. So we're gonna give everybody a few moments to tune in. We have people joining right now. I'm gonna share from my page here. So if
Okay.
you want to share, please feel free to do so. And definitely, you guys, if you all are watching, please share. We're gonna have so much fun tonight. There's just so much to say, so much that she's gonna share with us. She is a mom, a beauty mogul, an entrepreneur.
I'm
She
trying to
built
figure out I'm trying to figure out how to share this. Walk me through the steps, girl.
You'll probably have to go to my personal page or either one of my solo side pages
Okay.
and share it on there. And I'm going to share it with a few groups that I'm in, like here in Alabama, some few beauty groups, because I feel like what you have to say is definitely going to be an inspiration to everybody out there, especially people in the beauty industry.
Well,
I use
I'm so excited because I want to be helpful. There's so many things that I feel like I could have missed a lot of headaches had I known certain things. So if you
yeah,
have questions, if you're out there in the beauty industry and it's something you want to break into, ask questions, please.
definitely ask questions. Because we're here to talk and interact, This is not scripted. I didn't give her questions before this started. So
We
it's
are
very
flying blinds, which is so out of my comfort zone. I honestly, if for those of you who don't know, probably don't know me, this is my first ever podcast. So like I've been watching them like cardio. Like you would think I hate them, I love them, but I don't like not being in control.
I know, right? It's one of those things like I like to know what's coming. I like to prepare for it. I'm not like I don't like the element of surprise. Like,
Exactly. Well, like
but
I
it's
was telling you earlier, sometimes I feel like I wake up really smart and I'm on it, and then there's other times I need to marinate my thoughts. I can't make complete sentences. So I think it was more so that aspect of everything.
I know every day is different, especially being a parent. That's kind of like one of my things. I was having a conversation with a friend a few days ago. Like, being a parent is a full-time job. Like, you don't turn that on and off, especially if you're the custodial parent and the child lives with you 24/7. So, like, how has life been for you since you became a mom, since you've walked into
Well,
motherhood?
I will say that everyone always talked about pregnancy brain and mom brain. And I always thought people were lying. Like I thought, you just don't have your life
Like,
together.
no way. Like,
And
that's
then
just
I got pregnant. And then it was real and I noticed the effects of it. But I thought after I had her, like life would go back, my brain would come back, I'd be like on top of it. And then I had her and I was like, girl, 6 years later, it is still real. It is a real part of my life every single day.
I promise. I was telling somebody the other day, they were like, do you feel like you were ready? And if I'm looking down, it's because like I'm sharing this video. So they were asking me, was I ready for parenthood? I'm like, that's something you will never be ready for because it's
Never.
something
Mm-mm.
different. It's something new every single day. And if you're not ready, hey.
It is.
it's,
You definitely have to be ready. I feel like for an adventure. For me, my daughter was not planned. I was actually about to move to California, literally
really,
down to like the 2 week span. I had told my clients I was leaving. And
mhm.
then before you know it, I was like, oh Lord, well, I'm not going anywhere right now. And but honestly, it was the best thing that happened to me for sure. I feel like I was more grounded, more motivated. So yes, it was a blessing in disguise for sure.
Definitely is. And that's kind of one of those things I feel like God blesses us with kids to kind of slow us down sometimes. And to kind of like say, like, okay, our plans are not his plans. Like, boom, here's the baby. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to panic and stop and give up on your dreams? Or are you going to keep pushing and show her, like, I'm a boss, I'm a mom, I'm your mom. Like, I want you to look up to me. Like, I'm trying to be a role model out here. And like, life did like a total like 180 after I became a parent. But I do love it. Some days I have my days where I'm like, I just cannot, like this whole virtual learning and trying to adjust and work. Like, because I saw that you with your daughter like in your salon one day, like on your MacBook, she's doing her little virtual learning, you're doing hair. So kind of tell us how that experience has been for you so far.
Well, anyone who knows me knows that that is not, as my husband says, it is not in my wheelhouse. I was not made to be patient. I was not raised to be patient. It was kind of an aggressive household. So, like for me, I'm just not cut out for it. But, obviously, I feel like her education is important. Some days I'm like, do you really need your education? Because I can teach you a trade. Because I don't know if your mama can handle it.
Like, I can teach you how to do hair. Like, we can start when you're young.
Yeah, and then I'll be in trouble for child labor. So that was a joke, y'all. I'm not have my daughter do that, but it has been a challenge for sure. I do feel like, as a mother and a business owner, you always have to be willing to adapt because things happen. There are so many things that are going to go unplanned. So as long as you know in advance, like, look, at some point something is not going to go as planned. So I just need to be open to adapting and changing as needed.
Most definitely. And that kind of like adaptation and change that you talk about makes me think of COVID. And like, how did you have to adapt to your business changing in the midst of COVID-19? Because you're very hands on. You do hair, you do makeup. So you're right there face to face with people. Like, did you have any concerns? Were you scared, or did you think business was like never going to pick back up?
For me, luckily, I built small, and anyone going into business, I would strongly recommend it. I didn't get a business loan. I paid for everything to week. So when I first moved into my beauty lounge, I had that year prior to I was at Sola, so I was renting a room space. So I had saved up and I went on and purchased like my station, salon chair, shampoo bowl, and my makeup vanity. And then from there, everything that I had profit week to week went into what I needed to get for it. And so instead of getting like a $50,000 to $100,000 business loan, I paid for everything week to week. So luckily, because of that, and because I don't have overhead, I have one girl who booth rents from me, and she's like, I don't look at her as an employee. I look at her as a team member. Like, I fully trust her with everything. And because it was set up like that, COVID, like, I can't even complain about it just because I feel like I was in a really good place because of those choices. So I would definitely recommend that if are coming from nothing, so you don't get overwhelmed by loans and stuff. You can defer a payment, but at some point you got to pay it back or you're going to have to file bankruptcy. And for me with COVID, I also know, especially, when you've gone through certain things in life, you learn how to prepare better. So I always keep a minimum of 3 months business operating expenses set aside in the event something happens.
Okay.
So luckily, because of that, I wasn't too stressed out about being closed and like thinking if it was short term. The thing that terrified me was not having a definitive answer. Like how long are we being closed? First off, you're telling me I cannot work. We had a 6-week shutdown where I'm at, and for me, part of my identity is working. So I feel like I struggled more so with that. And then of course you have everything event wise was shut down. I would say my business was more affected in the makeup side because weddings, people book their weddings a year in advance. They pay a 50% deposit, which, that can add up really quick when you have a bridal party.
Right.
That aspect was affected more so than hair. My clients have been with me for almost 7 years now, most of them. And they're like, look, whenever you open, we're going to come through. We're good. Also, a lot of my clients, they have government jobs, thankfully. I can't imagine having a clientele that the bulk is in like the food industry or something else that has been gravely affected by COVID.
Exactly.
For me, I would say, honestly, I don't feel like I can really, complain or anything. I feel very blessed during this time. It is a huge headache. And again, it's one of those things that you have to adapt. You have to be willing to change things. Wearing a mask, and I mean, luckily, my business was also set up to do by appointment only. That's part of the
Mhm.
experience for me, because I didn't really like when I worked in a salon prior to how everyone was rushed in and out, and then it felt very impersonable.
Right.
I think that's the right word. But hold on, my speaker is trying to pick me up over here. Okay.
It was kind
And
of very robotic. You weren't really developing a
yeah,
relationship with your client.
exactly, because I was rushing through everything because the front desk would book me in a process time that for a service that didn't even fit there. So I felt like the people that pre-booked with me, 8 to 12 weeks in advance, it's like you're getting the short end of me because I can't even keep up right now. So
Right.
when I opened my business, I wanted that to be client experience to be at the top of the tier. I wanted people to feel important when they come to me. For me, the beauty industry is not just about being pretty on the outside. It's about building relationships with other women. And, you can look beautiful, but if you don't feel beautiful, all this doesn't matter.
Right.
So to me, I wanted to really be able to invest in my clients in that aspect. Um, that helped me with COVID because most places double book people, and you had a number amount, like a limit you could have when people came into the salon after they opened. So
Mhm.
again, I feel like I kind of dodged a bullet in that sense because I was already set up to accommodate that.
You just appointment only. So that really didn't affect you, like having to turn down a bunch of people because you never like really overbooked and overworked yourself.
Correct.
So what's one thing you really like about being an entrepreneur? Like having your own salon as opposed to working in other salons that you didn't own.
Uh, Being able to control how it's operated, to, like I said, to me, quality of life trumps everything. And it wasn't even, I didn't even go into like entrepreneurship because, oh, I want to make more money. Yeah, I definitely make way more money than making 45% commission. But at the end of the day, I also don't get to just like cut it off.
Hmm.
When you're an entrepreneur, you take it home with you. And if you're not face to face with clients, like I only take clients from 9 to 10 a.m. to about 4 p.m. Hair clients. Makeup, I'll anytime. If you got an event, you got to be ready. I've had bridal parties that have like multiple, like they'd have a ceremony in the morning, one midday. Like the Indian weddings is a huge thing. It's a whole day. I've been up at 3:30 a.m. for makeup. I don't care. But at the end of the day, you can't cut it off. You think about everything. You think about what do I need to do next? How do I need to market myself? What do my business reviews look like? Do I need to follow up with clients? Has someone gone through something that I'm just forgetting? Like I try to always follow up with clients when it comes to life changes, divorces, marriages, babies, adoption, all of that stuff. So I'll definitely say that's. I think sometimes people think when you go into business for yourself, it's a little easier.
Hmm.
It is not, but I enjoy it so much more than working for someone else, for sure.
Most definitely, definitely keep it real with us. Because people think like it's like walks in the park, but you really have to have that self control to be able to get up early or to be able to follow up with your clients and just kind of be organized and set that agenda. So, kind of how do you stay organized? Do you do all of the booking and everything in your salon, or do you hire someone to do that? Kind of tell us how like a day to day at your salon is for you.
Well, I'm a control freak. So no one handles my book other than me. And sometimes I think like, oh, I should really invest in someone just to handle that for me. But I know how I book. I know how long certain clients take me. I know what I'm willing to do also from like a mental and emotional standpoint with where I'm at in life. Like if
Mhm.
there's a week that I'm very overwhelmed with virtual school, or for instance, it's not even a good example because that was really last minute. But when you can plan and I know, hey, for the first month minimum, she's going to be a virtual school. Let me adjust my book accordingly so I can handle everything and be my best self for her, but also for my clients. I don't
Mhm.
want to show up to work salty because I'm handling too much. I'm feeling overwhelmed. And then someone get the short end of the stick when they're investing in me and my services.
Most definitely, because people, I feel like when it comes to buying things and investing in services, they buy into the person more so than the product. Like you might have clients that just like you for you. They may have someone that could do their hair just as good, but they continue to go to you because of their experience with you while you're there. Like you say, you make it very personal. You check in with them. If they have a life event going on or something like that. But I like how you mentioned that you try to be your best self for your daughter. And I know sometimes we can lose ourselves in our careers. So, what kind of motivates you to continue to keep being the best version of yourself for her?
Well, a lot of times when it comes to how I raise my daughter, it's in reflection of how I was raised, and a lot of the things where I feel like there was just a huge disconnect, and I did not evolve to the person and the potential that I could have because of certain things from that time of my life. So for her, I always want to go over and beyond, and I am not close to perfect. Like I have to check my temper and my patience on a regular basis. But I think the important thing is, taking note of our shortcomings and
Mhm.
making an effort. Oh gosh. Sorry, that just like, did you hear that? My mic just kicked in from Siri on my computer. Um, but I think it's just taking note of our shortcomings and making a valid effort every single day to be better at that. Because my daughter is not her responsibility, or it's not a weight or burden she should carry because of how I was raised or things that I feel like they affected me in a certain way. Like
Mhm.
I need to deal with that. So if I get a
Mhm.
short temper because I'm getting angry because she's not doing something that I was expected to do at that age, like that's not
Right.
her fault. Like I need to check me.
Most definitely. And I love that that's self-awareness. Just bringing light to our own problems and like kind of like what we could fix as a parent, because I'm the same way. Like I'm not the perfect parent, like, and I don't think no one
They
ever
don't
is.
exist. Nobody is the perfect parent.
I don't
No matter what Instagram or Facebook says.
Exactly, because people only post like their good moments. People never post like when something is going bad in their life or if they have anything negative going on. All we see is like, life is good. Oh, look at my son. He's so funny. Woo-hoo. But we're not posting how he's over here getting a whooping for tearing up the house. So
Hmm.
we just have to kind of
Yeah.
like be aware. I see someone in the comments said, I'm excited. That's a great job. And definitely, you guys tune in with your questions. We are here for you today. For those that are just tuning in, this is tell us how to pronounce your name, because I was having a debate with so many people that were like, it's Maleigh. No, somebody was like, no, it's Maleigh.
It's
So,
Mally. So how Mally came about, so it's not actually my government name, as I say, but Mally was one of my nicknames in high school. And then when I first started waiting tables when I moved to Alabama, I went by Mally. And the reason it is spelled how it is because my middle name is Lee Ann, and that's how Lee is spelled in my middle name. So, and you know me, I always got to be different, but
I know. I'm like, Mallory, 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 Mallory. Okay.
I
But
like to
that's
keep it nice and confusing.
I know. So I did kind of like have us take a look at your work, because you've gone some amazing places like with your beauty and your makeup artistry, like New York Fashion Week. That's so major. Like I love
Thank
that. That's
you.
so dope. How did you land that? Let me see if we have a picture here of it, you guys. Is this from New York Fashion Week?
Yes, so those are behind the scenes photos that were captured. That's
Mhm.
working on just some models backstage.
I love it. Someone asked the question, what advice would you give a new business owner?
Start small. Starts that would be the first thing. Start small. If you wanted to backtrack before you venture into business, I think from a personal standpoint, it is very important to break up with any storage you have. A lot of times we are the thing standing in our own way in our own
Mm,
self-growth because we're so focused on something that happened in the past or something we didn't think we deserved, and we like to point fingers at everyone but ourselves. And even if your story is true, I think it is so important to let that go. And that way you have that time and that energy to invest in yourself and your dream. So you can focus on that, not on how you feel about everything that's behind you.
mm. That's great advice. So, like, when you started your business, did you like wait and save for a period? Because I know you said you didn't get along. So, how long did it take you to really save and get to that point to where you could open your own location and run it and have, like you said, the 3 months worth of operating expenses put back?
So it was a very slow process. I worked for a salon. Well, the first 2 years I worked the front desk, and then I did my apprenticeship through them, which took 3,000 hours. That's where, like, I didn't end up with any student loan debt, which that's like a whole nother story why I could not go to cosmetology school at the time. But
Look, no
I
one
did an apprenticeship.
wrong.
Well, I would have been open to it, but I just couldn't because at the time when I moved to Alabama at 18, like I had some family issues. My parents did not want to give me their social security numbers to fill out my financial aid to try to get into cosmetology school and set up the financial aid or see what I, could get. So I
Mhm.
had to figure out another route. So that I went the apprenticeship route, which is instead of doing 1,500 hours of cosmetology at a school, you can do 3,000 hours under a stylist and get licensed and take your state boards that way.
Oh wow.
Now, yeah, so I did that, and then I stayed at that salon and did hair there for some years following. When I went to Sola, so that's I don't are you familiar with the Sola, the little individual salon
Yeah,
suites?
my stylist has a sweet and solar. So
Okay, so that was where I ventured out. I got for that first year, I kept track of, my clients that came with me, so that way I could have a good projection of what I would bring in minimum the following year to know what I could afford expense wise for leasing a spot.
mhm.
And then from there, once I kind of locked in my numbers, I just started investing in the stuff that I knew I would need for the build out. With a build out, if you're going to go into your own building, you need to be prepared for build out expenses if they exceed the build out what the owner of the property has willing to invest in the build out. So I had to have a couple extra grand for additional plumbing, and outside of that it was really just furnishing the place. So I didn't know exactly what the build out looked like, but it takes like 6 months. They say 6 months. It took closer to like 8 to 10 months. And that gave me time though, working at Solo, where I could put more back. So it was kind of like a year long, I would say, end goal.
So has your dream always been to be an entrepreneur?
No. It Life is so funny. There are some people that when they're growing up and they're like 5, they're like, I know exactly what I want to be. And that's really what they want to be. For
Right.
me, and I remember being so envious of those people because I'm like, oh man, I wish it was just that clear. Like a
Right.
neon sign, just you're supposed to do this, girl, because life would be easier. But would it be as worth it? I don't know. Um, for me, I would say from a very young age, I always felt like I had this purpose, like this bigger purpose. I was supposed to do
Mhm.
something profound in the world, but I had no idea what that meant. And then
Right.
you also have the circumstances that you grow up in, and you're like, well, am I really going to be anything profound? I'm over here in this rundown trailer in the yard of one of my family members. Like, is this even achievable? You feel very discouraged.
Right. You do.
My dream evolved when I ventured out. I took a chance, leap of faith, and I just honestly I put together a plan and prayed it would work out. And I figured if I invest in myself every single day, even if it's not for hair, which is, that was a possible plan. It was an achievable goal for where I was at that place in my life. I figured if it doesn't work out, well, at least I've invested in myself for these years,
Mhm.
so that's going to add value to me in some way. I'm going to take something from that experience. And it honestly just kind of happened. Like I love makeup. I enjoy hair, but I would not say it's my passion. The
Um,
thing that I love about hair is my clients.
mhm.
Because when I moved here, I didn't have, like, I literally had no one. I knew one person in Decatur, Alabama. Um, And so when I moved here, I didn't have that family base, and I also wasn't good with my family. So I felt very alone. My
Mhm.
clients became my family. And that was also like where I would meet other women that I aspired to be like. So it was
Mhm.
also inspirational and that's why I love doing hair, because I see them on a regular basis. It's like girl time, but I also get to make a little bit of
Mentorship
money.
time, like time to talk and just time to cope. And I love that. I love that you build those relationships with your clients. So relationship building is definitely very important when trying to be an entrepreneur. If you don't like
Very
to get up
important.
there and talk to people and go get it and ask for what you want, it's not really set up for you, I believe.
Yeah.
So like with makeup being your passion, when did you discover that was your passion?
So at the end of my stint at the salon that I was working at before I ventured to solo, I was trying to get more into makeup because I had done a few applications there, and I just realized that that is makeup is a beautiful thing because you have this immediate gratification.
Mhm.
I have seen clients light up, like their confidence like exudes when they leave. And for me, like when I'm glammed up and I go to the coffee shop, like I'm smiling, my head's high, like I'm looking at people. When I don't have my eyebrows on, girl, I swear I'll be like this. I'll be like, I want a
Yeah,
vanilla
you put my
latte.
cap on and run in here and run out.
Yes. So, just for me, I had a lot of issues growing up with self-love and acceptance and seeing my worth. I went through some stints of like eating disorders, everything you can think of. Like I just really struggled internally with that. So
Mhm,
for me, being able to empower women and give like help feed their confidence, like that felt like my purpose. Once I experienced that, I was like, this is what I have to do. Like I've got
mhm,
to do it up. And that's sort of why I ventured out, because where I was, there's no way I could make any money, let alone living doing makeup, because I was making 45% of the service. The brand of makeup that they carry just was not ideal for event makeup, like the
mhm.
longevity aspect. So I was having to bring in my own product. Your girl's already broke, having to bring in my own product and make 45% of, and they were only charging $45. So girl, what am I, after
Like,
taxes, I'm not bringing anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
like once you count your costs and stuff, and people don't realize like makeup is expensive. Like high quality professional makeup is expensive, and that's why people charge the way that they do. So it's kind of
Very
one of
much
those
so.
things. Like you really have to invest. So have you done a lot of makeup clients since like post? Well, not post COVID because we're kind of still in COVID, but during this whole coronavirus phase, are you still like heavy on the
So
makeup?
as soon as the mandatory closing was lifted, things went back to normal. You got to think about all the weddings that had been postponed. Like
Mhm.
last weekend, was it this last weekend? The weekend before, I had a wedding on Saturday, a wedding on Sunday. I've had makeup throughout the week for people trying to catch up, like their professional headshots and their photos. So yeah, it has definitely picked up, which makes me super excited.
I love that. So in the beauty industry, how important would you say building a portfolio is for the people that don't have one? Do you have a portfolio? Is this how you
Um,
landed like your fashion week?
Yeah, so I have like my focus was creating online content. So anytime Instagram is a huge platform and
Mhm,
it's free, utilize that. I have a portfolio on my website, but I would say a strong 90% of my makeup clients come from online and Instagram, like from Google, like from my Google reviews, where I've also post photos, and then Instagram. What I will say about landing jobs and things of that nature is it takes preparation. You need to be prepared so when the opportunity arises, it does not pass you by. Because
mhm,
if you don't have work to show, people are just going to look straight past you and jump to the next person. People want to see that's how you're going to book clients. If I see quality work, I'm like, okay, you know what? I might invest in a service with her. But if you have
right.
no work, I have no confidence unless there's like a mouth, a friend referral, like word of
Mhm.
mouth.
Yeah, so I'm glad you said that. So like that posting consistently and putting your work out there and make sure you're posting your best work. Is really helping you gain more clientele and things like that. So you mentioned social media presence. Instagram is definitely free. That's the easiest way to connect with celebrities or people in
Mhm.
different industries. I actually booked the guy that's on Million Dollar Beach House on Netflix. He's coming on the podcast next month. And it's
Oh,
just
that's exciting.
crazy. I was watching it, he laughing, and I put it in my story and like tagged him in it. And he like replied to the tag, and we started talking, and now he's coming on the podcast. So definitely make those connections with people. Always reach out. I took this Instagram masterclass with a friend of mine. She kind of built her followers from like zero. I think she's at like 15,000 now, like from the ground up. And she said, don't be afraid to tag people in your work. Don't feel like you're being annoying, or don't feel like you're being thirsty. She was like, really be thirsty, because that's how brands see you. That's how different artists and different companies see you. So you definitely have to build and maintain that social media presence. Tell us about YouTube, your YouTube channel. I saw you did hit a video that hit like 10,000 views. So that's like a major accomplishment. Like, I love the YouTube world.
I have one that just reached, I think last I checked was 17,000, but it took forever. Like it is a long game. New social media platforms come out, the algorithm it's a lot easier to get in front of a lot of people. But once they have been established, things change, and it is a slow game from there on out. That's why Instagram now, you use all these hashtags. I put so many hashtags, and honestly, it's because of the algorithm. Like if you use TikTok, because TikTok's newer, and you get in front of a lot of people fast. With YouTube, it is a long game, but I have been slowly trying to build that because I love being able to provide information that may be helpful to people who don't have the resources to go out and pay for classes and things of that nature.
Yeah, she likes to be resourceful and share knowledge. And I love like you're all about women empowerment and helping other women. And that's kind of one thing that we all have to keep in mind. Like, there are so many people out there doing the same thing. So if it's something that you want to do, definitely go out there and do it. There are millions of YouTubers. Like, I'm on YouTube, but I'm like so bad at it. Like, the last video I recorded was like a year ago. And like, I just went through comments last night, like, oh dang, like these people have been showing love. I haven't been saying anything.
Life happens.
I know, it's like, look, social media is like a part-time job on top of being a full-time parent.
Yes.
All the time.
There's many days that I don't even want to be on social media. But I honestly, owning a business, I'm like, I have to be, like, I have to invest that time. Sometimes it does get old sometimes.
Yes, it's sometimes like I want to take breaks from it, but I'm like, no, you're like, I'm out here trying to sell houses. Let me not get lost in the mix. Like my mentor always says, like, if you're out of sight, you're out of mind. So if people don't see you, they're not thinking about what you're doing. They're not thinking about the service that you provide. Because when people think of houses, I want them to think about me. And I'm sure like when people think of makeup and hair, you want them to think about you. So what's some advice you would instill in someone that is trying to kind of be more digital, trying to come up like in the social media and digital influence world to grow their business?
I would say be consistent and be mindful. So if you know that, like, for instance, you want to be known in the real estate world, so a lot of your posts need to include something about real estate, even if it's not something you've sold. So with me, like, it may not even be a makeup look I'm wearing, it may be on a client, or it may be a product I like. When people hear my name, I want them to think of makeup artistry. Like, oh, she's that makeup artist, like, oh, da, 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 and so on. So honestly, just branding yourself, be mindful and brand yourself. And I would say do it every day. Like, and I don't mean post every day. I mean, if you want to do hair, every day you need to invest some amount of time into, like, teaching yourself new things. That can be finding inspiration on Pinterest. It doesn't have to be sitting down and watching a 2-hour online course. Sometimes it's literally just going through and like, what inspires you? What do you want to try next? Things of that nature.
So kind of tell us about any obstacles that you faced growing up. I know you kind of touched on like you previously had in eating disorder. Kind of tell us how you kind of got through that, how you came out of it, and just kind of how you got to where you are now to be that person that just loves yourself and want to be an example for your daughter.
And I love that you just said that, because this is where people see what they see and they kind of run with it. I struggle so hardcore still with my image. Like on a daily basis, I'm way too hard and critical on myself. So it's definitely something I feel like I'm going to struggle with for the rest of my life. But honestly, for so many years, I didn't deal with my demons. I ran from them. And then I realized that, you know what, this is holding me back. I can't reach my full potential if I don't let go of some of those burdens.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, like to this day, I cannot have scale in the house. I will get so OCD about weighing myself, even though I know up here the number doesn't matter. But when I see it, I'm like, but I know I ate a piece of pizza the other
Like I
day.
can
Then
see
that's gonna put me in a bad place. So I just have to be really, I have to be really mindful and kind of set my life up and utilize boundaries, I would say.
most definitely. I think, especially now, it's so hard to get lost in how we look, comparing ourselves to people we see online and on social media.
Even though you know most of it's fake. It's like
Right. And let me not be
either it can
so
be photoshopped, it can be
yeah,
cosmetic, and you know, honestly, do whatever makes you feel good about you. Like
most definitely.
I 100% believe that. And I don't believe that it needs to be everybody else's business. I don't think it's any of their business. The only thing that drives me crazy about the that social media false image or people pretending like they didn't do anything. Like you're giving younger women body image issues because they're expecting like, oh, that's normal, that's what I'm supposed to be like if you have something done and you don't want people to know, just don't say anything about it. Don't be like, oh, I've been working out good,
Yeah, like you're doing the gym,
genetics.
hard, right? Like just own it. Like there's nothing wrong with it. I have a friend. She said she's getting plastic surgery and she's about to vlog her whole experience about it. She was like, y'all are about to see this transition. Like it's me. But yeah, like that's kind of that irks me too. Like don't have surgery and then go where you been in the gym and be in there with like a weight
Mm.
trainer on and just act like this happened
Yes,
over.
or it kills me too how people will do like hair growth pills, but they have all leave in. You know it's weave because you saw their hair appointment and you're like, it's just a lie. And it's giving people this false sense of like expectation, like that's what my hair is supposed to look like if I take this. Or like it's I don't know, it's very misleading and I don't like that. Just be authentic.
Definitely. So, like, if you are trying to be like a beauty influencer or anything like that, definitely be authentic. Like she just said, like, if you're trying to review products on different beauty products and stuff, like, just be honest. And if you don't like it, kind of tell the company that you don't, and they'll end up sending you more stuff. Now I have, Lord forgive me, lied on like a beauty review or something one time, just because a company like sent it to me and I didn't want to be mean. So I was like, I love this. But
You
definitely
learn
be
from it, right? You learn from it. I bet you thought about it when you went to sleep. I bet it was on your conscience. Like, girl, now you know you didn't really
like,
love that.
I'm kind of like it wasn't pigmented like you said it was.
Mhm.
But that's one thing you have to kind of be true to yourself about when growing a business, especially when you're trying to be like online and have a voice and be out there. Kind of stay true to your brand. There will be different people that'll try to work with you, and that's just like not your client. So, do you kind of have like a target client or like an ideal client that you try to market to?
Not particularly. I will say that just because of, you know, growing up and some of the things I struggled with, I love working with teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I wouldn't say a target market just
Mm-hmm.
because, I mean, I really love working with everyone. I just feel like I sometimes make a little bit more of an impact on them. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I like that you have like your heart is in it. You have purpose in it outside of making money, and I feel like
Well,
that's
and
really
I
when.
think that's where the money came from. That honestly, I
Yeah.
never got into it, and I was like, you know what? I just want to make money from these people. Like, I think people they can see through fake stuff. It may take a while, but it eventually the light is shown, and your true colors are very visible. So I
Right.
feel like part of it is definitely like people know I care,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's where it came in because they also because I care, I want to provide the best service. Because of that,
Hmm.
I educate myself every chance I get. And because of that, I'm able to charge what I charge and sleep at night.
Right. So, like, I love how you mentioned that. So, you definitely price yourself according to what you're worth, to like the knowledge that you invest in your business. It's not cheap. So, yeah, just don't be one of those people. When me and my stylist were having a conversation, she was having trouble out of one of her clients. The lady was complaining about how much her service was. But like, at the end of the day, like as a business owner, you can't let people like talk you down on your prices. Have you ever had to deal
Mm-mm.
with people not wanting to pay full price and you just kind of had to be firm, even if it was like family or friends or anything like that, people that felt like they deserved
Um,
a discount?
yes, I've definitely had to have those conversations. I feel like anyone in business at some point is going to have those conversations because there's always going to be that person that tries to get one over on you. They're just the hustler. Like they're trying to hustle you out of a service and not pay for it, not because they don't think it's worth it, but because they don't want to pay it. That's
Mhm.
one thing that I had to come to terms with is not everyone is going to value my service the
Mhm.
way that some people are. And that's okay. That just means they're not a good fit for me. So if
Right.
someone doesn't want to pay my prices and they don't see the value in that, that is okay. I don't take that personal. When I was newer in business, I did take it a little personal. Like, are you serious? And then you're going to go over here and pay this and then try to come to me to have
Right.
me adjust it. It's like, no.
Right.
So just don't take it personal. You have to know your worth at the end of the day. You know what all you've invested. You don't have to tell your clients. It's nice to keep them educated because a lot of times they don't understand what all goes
Mhm.
into it. They think, I swear, I told my husband this. I said, I swear some days I think you think I go to work. I do this in the hair. And I'm like, okay, girl, have a good day after you pay me. I'm like,
Oh,
it is so much more than a hair fluff. Like so much more was
it really
invested.
it's so much more than just like what meets the eye from the outside. And that's
Hmm.
why I think like people should definitely have experiences or things like that. So in the future, kind of what are your goals, like business wise? Do you plan on? I know you like working with teenagers. For instance, if there's a teenage girl that wants to get into like the beauty industry, are you open to having like an intern or somebody to kind of shadow you and kind of
I
see how
would
you
be 1,000,000% open to someone shadowing me and me teaching them whatever I could. The hard part for me, though, is finding someone that I don't feel like I have to babysit. Like, you need to be
Mhm.
self motivated. And nowadays, it is just, I feel like it's so hard in today's society to find people who actually want to put in hard work. And I think
Mhm.
a lot of that comes from social media. You know, you see an 8 hour color correction that's summed up in 30 seconds on Instagram. You're like, oh, that's achievable. That looks like about 2 hours of work and $200. Yeah. And it's these unrealistic expectations. Like you see someone who is doing better in life and you don't realize the 10 to 15 years past that you just missed of like
Mhm.
their losses and their struggles. It's like, and you
Yes.
people don't always post about that because why would we want to brag? And you also don't want to have a pity party on social
Mhm.
media and bring everybody else down because then you're that person. So
Let me unfollow her because I've had to unfollow people because it was always something negative. I'm like, oh my gosh, this girl's never having a good day. Like, let me
mm,
unfollow her 'cause, like she's bringing my spirit down. So, how would you say how important are the people that you keep in your circle around you when it comes to keeping you motivated and keeping you positive?
protect your energy
Mm,
for sure. And this is as one thing I would like to say to all the there, especially if you are in a relationship that you have to stress about certain things. Like for instance, part of why I feel like I've achieved this amount of growth at this phase in my life is because I am married to an honest man and I don't have to worry. Like there's a different type of growth that happens when you don't have to worry about being lied to and cheated on.
mm. You
Like
sleep
because
better at night.
as women, we naturally invest in whoever we're with, and we give everything, even if from the outside it looks like we just said, "Yeah, we ain't taking it serious." We invest everything,
We do.
emotionally, the whole nine, and you can't reach your potential if you're so invested in someone that you can't trust because your focus is on that instead of what you need to be focused on.
Mm,
So I think you should definitely check your relationships. And
mm,
if you don't be scared to be alone. Like I
mm.
sometimes
Yeah.
because we are creatures, we are meant like we were designed to be with someone, to create a family, to create a life. But sometimes we do that with the wrong person because we want that. So I think be okay with being alone. Make sure if you're in a relationship that you can't grow and reach your potential, like you either need to be okay with staying where you are or you
Mm.
need to sever ties and do what you have to do to be a better you. You cannot fuel the world from an empty vessel. So be careful where you drain your energy.
Careful where you lay down if they're not invested in you. Most definitely, I love it. That's
Exactly.
one of the things like I've struggled with in the past, like being in relationships and investing in people that really weren't worth being invested in, or they were like bringing me down. They weren't really motivating me and pushing me to my potential because they just didn't understand. They didn't have it in them. They didn't really have that drive. And when people aren't happy in their own life, they will try to bring you down to where they are. Like
For sure.
a person that has nothing will help you lose everything. So we definitely have to protect our energy, like you said. So how do you kind of get a break from like work and from motherhood? I know you said like it never stops, even when you're at home, you're thinking about like my clients tomorrow, what do I need to prep for them? But kind of what do you do to take a break and kind of wind down and get your mind off of business?
I'm still working on that one. I am working on it. So it was probably what, 2 or 3 weeks ago when virtual school started. I took off Wednesdays to be able to execute the week work of schoolwork in that day.
Mm,
And it was, I'm pretty sure it was the first week that started. Girl, I was stressed out by 12 o'clock. And I almost had like this breaking moment. So I met
mm-hmm,
a girlfriend for brunch, which we had it planned because her birthday was the week prior to. It's a friend and client. And definitely a woman that is like top tier in my friend circle. I have a couple of friends that I can rely on, and she is definitely top tier. So I went to brunch with her. Girl, we went to have lunch at 11 a.m.
mm-hmm.
My butt did not get home till 7:30. we,
Brunch,
we
lunch,
lived
drinks afterwards.
we lived our best life. And the crazy thing was I did not realize how bad I needed girl time. Girl energy is so different than like your
Yeah.
man's energy. And that's not in a bad way. It's just like he needs guy time, you need girl time. It's just different. I felt so free. I was in the best mood for the next 2 to 3 days. I was like, man, I need this in my life. Because I broke away. I didn't think about it because I was actually enjoying myself in just conversation and crazy pictures and Snapchat and all that. But
Yeah, and that's one thing because sometimes we can get so caught up in our work and just so caught up in like, okay, I gotta do more. I have to do more. I have to make so much money. I have to do this, and that to where we put like our self-care and like things we need as a woman, as a mom, those breaks we need, we put those to the side. And I'm guilty with that because I have my kids like 24/7. So I don't really get a break. Like since my divorce, I really don't have help with my kids. So it's just me. So definitely like when you find that balance and find that time, because I have the option to put my daughter back in traditional here in Shelby County, but I chose to have her remote. So I'm like, I'm trying not to complain about it, but I'm like, this close to enrolling you back like full time because it's a lot. Like my daughter, I try to let her be a little bit responsible. And when she gets off the video call, I'm like, Camilla, do y'all have any work that y'all need to do right now? She's like, no. But when it's like the end of the week, it's a ton of stuff that we have to do and take pictures and upload it in the Google Classroom and check in with the teacher. So it's just kind of a lot. I like how you mentioned that you have a wonderful husband that you can trust. Kind of tell us your story on him. How did y'all meet? And how did you
so
know?
it's kind of that's a good story. We met probably 8 years before we actually started dating this
Oh,
last time. And I will say at that point, I was in my Manhate phase. This was during my apprenticeship. So it was 8 years before we got together. So what does that make it now? I'm not good at doing math on the spot. Too much pressure. But I would say it was during my apprenticeship program. I remember that.
mhm.
And I had just got out of a very toxic relationship that I was in for 3.5 years on and off. And I just didn't have the patience. I was just so burned and broken from that relationship. But when I was at work, the massage therapist came down. She kept telling me about this. She's like, "Oh, you need to meet Andy. Oh, you need to meet Andy." And I'm like, "Girl, I ain't trying to meet nobody. Like, let me go out and party with my girls. Let me come to work and do my thing and worry about me."
Right.
Well, she finally comes down the stairs one day and she has her phone open and it's Facebook. So his profile's pulled up. And she's just like, oh, you need to meet Andy. I'm setting y'all up on a blind date. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then the phone screen came in front of my face and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What? Okay.
Let me see Andy.
Tell me where to show up.
Right.
So we went on a lunch date and I would say we hit it off. We did 2 dates total. We were about to go out on our 3rd date and he canceled last minute. He swears he told me the reason, but no, he did not. So I was like, he canceled last minute and did not reschedule. So I'm like, so I called him, right? Because I'm like, oh, no, I ain't doing all this in the text. I'm about to get a phone call. So I call him and I'm like, well, when are we rescheduling? And then he was like, well, I don't know. I'll let you know. And I was like, no, if you're not taking this serious, don't even waste my time. And he even says, he was like, you're so spicy. I knew I couldn't handle that in my life right then. So we went our separate ways, but we kept up on social media and stuff. And then a couple of years ago, he had started growing out his beard or his facial hair. It was just scruff at the time. And I was like, oh, that looks really good. So I just reached out. And then we started talking from there. He was in Vegas at a fight and he called me. Well, he told me we had been texting and calling regularly before, but I'm not taking risks because I already knew how the first time went.
Right.
So he's like, okay, well, I'm going to Vegas with the boys. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm definitely not going to hear from you. So I was doing my own thing. And he texts me. I remember he texted me the first day, he texted me the second day, and then on the 3rd day he calls me and I'm like, okay, now this is crazy. Like, are you good? And he said, well, I get back Friday. I don't know why I haven't thought of this. Do you want to go to dinner? And that was right before Thanksgiving, and we basically were not apart since then.
Oh, that's so sweet. So how long after that before he proposed? And
it was like only a year because yeah, girl. I'm totally just kidding. But yeah, I would say it was not a year. Oh my gosh, I just lied. It was a couple months after that. We were engaged for a year. So that was in November. And then I believe it was in February when we got engaged. We had gone on a trip to Aruba.
Ooh.
And I thought I was just getting a good tan and some time alone with my man, but
Next thing I know, like I have a ring.
Exactly.
I love that. That's so cute. So you kind of like knew he was the one, like that second go around.
Yeah,
and
I also it's really not funny. I keep saying it's so funny, but from that last relationship that was so toxic and such a struggle for me to recover from, I learned so much about what I didn't want in a man and what I needed in one.
Yes.
And he came through with shining colors, and I was like, oh, okay, he's the real deal. Like,
everything on my list.
I'm here for it. Yeah.
Most definitely. That's what I feel like. Like, no shade or nothing like that. But like with my ex-husband in my previous marriage, that just kind of taught me, like growing up as a woman, kind of what I want, like things I want and what I don't want. So I like I talked about it earlier, like I appreciate like all my bad previous relationships because it really helped me form that list and kind of set my standards to where I'm not selling myself short, or like you said, like I'm feeling like I just need to be with somebody because I don't like being alone. I feel like a lot of women struggle with that. They have a problem with actually like having that time in their life when they're actually alone and loving themselves. So like, what's some advice you would give to someone that's struggling with that? Like they may not even be aware that they're struggling with self-love issues, but they are.
Ooh, that's deep. So the first year, so when I had Kagan, and I stayed and I didn't go to California, I learned really, really, really quick who my friends were and who my friends were not. And that was a hard year for me. It was the hardest year of my life, but it was the most rewarding because in that time, I would say, obviously because of her, it was so rewarding. I had this like little beam of hope every day, but it was just us. I had no family. I had a kid. I was by myself. I worked. There were some nights that I'd work till 8 p.m., but on most days I'd have to work till 6 so I could pick her up from daycare because I had no one to help me with that type of stuff. And we would go home, and at that point, that was the first year that I started doing hair. out of my show, which means I did not have a clientele. And then you go from an hourly pay to commission, and you got commission with no clients. Girl, that was a rough year. I think I profited $18,000 that year, my first year being a mother. So before taxes, what is that, like 22 or something like that?
Mhm.
And needless to say, I was broke. Like we had a townhouse that we lived in that I had to pay obviously bills for. I had no child support coming through. It was literally just us. So it was really hard and I could not really do anything, but I also I almost needed to be forced to stay home and to not be with anybody, to not date, to not have those distractions because I learned so much about myself that year and I learned how much I could handle and that
Mhm.
I didn't need anybody. I think sometimes we think we need someone not necessarily to complete us, but I mean in the end, yeah, but you have to learn how to complete yourself because
Mhm.
no one's ever going to do that for you. Like regardless how amazing they are, you will mess up a good relationship because you have unrealistic expectations when you enter it. So I would say just girl, you need to pretend to be broke for a year. If you ain't broke, then just stay home.
That's
Stay
really one of those things. And I admire that you're open about that struggle. And if you don't have kids, you don't really understand how hard it is. And being that I am a mom and I have had a child and did it alone, and I definitely understand and commend you, like, as a woman for fighting through that. And like a newborn, you're only getting 2 hours of sleep before they're up crying and hungry, and you're trying to feed them and change a diaper. And so for you to kind of get through that and work at the same time with no help, what would you say to someone that's kind of dealing with that? They're at the point they're kind of feeling discouraged to the point to where they're almost about to give up.
The power of your mind is the most powerful thing. It is more powerful than anyone's opinions, anything. So I think honestly, just start with yourself. Start with self like affirmations and write positive notes on the mirrors if you have to. Like you need to keep yourself in a positive mindset to overcome that. You have to keep hope because there are going to be days that you will literally wake up crying because you're so overwhelmed and you don't know how you're going to make it work. So I think
Mhm.
honestly, just trying to maintain positivity, however you have to do it. There was definitely a time where I would have things in lipstick written on my mirror and little post it notes in my car and reminders pop up on my phone because that's what I needed to remind myself like, girl, you were a badass. You got this. Life is going to be good.
Right.
And like, well, actually, when I had found out I was pregnant and then I was going through the whole process of seeing what assistance I could get, because I knew that person, the other responsible party was not going to be responsible. So I was going to have to take that load. And I'm not playing, I'm not playing or exaggerating when I say this. I was shocked at how broken the system is because I
Mhm.
went in to get assistance and luckily I was able to get WIC for her, but I looked at options like food stamps and stuff of that nature and I was denied. The lady at the office told me that if I wanted to get it, like to get, because I had a friend who got like $600 a month in food stamps. I'm like, girl, I've been eating $2 Chick-fil-A fries in my day
You
meal
know, I'm in
all
noodles.
day. um, and so when I went to the office, I was shocked when she was like, well, you can get it. If you make, at that time, it was $1,800 a month gross income. So before your taxes come out or anything like that, um, basically you were denied. So I was denied. And she told me, she was like, well, I mean, you can just like stop working then. I'm not exaggerating. That was told to me. And I'm in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm gonna get way more business if I did that. But then I'd be living off the system. So then I become the problem. I become the reason that someone who needs help can't get help down the road.
Mhm.
And it's like I just invested 3,000 hours in trying to create a career. So I'm in the back of my mind at that moment, I'm like, I'm gonna have to grind it out for at least 2 years. I'm gonna have to ask clients for client reviews online to try to generate some new leads. I'm gonna have to do whatever I have to do. And I'm so thankful that I didn't like cave into the pressure because
Mhm.
it is hard.
Most definitely. And I definitely agree that the system is broken. They kind of set you up, like she suggested, well, you could just quit. Well, I've known people that have turned down raises at jobs that I've worked at before because it was going to cut off their assistance. They turned down like $1 raise because the raise wasn't enough to, you know, to
balance it
what I'm
out.
trying to say, but to make up for what they would have been getting in the system. So the system is definitely broken. If you have to use it, definitely use it, but don't get stagnant. Don't get comfortable being on it. Use it as a help. It's assistance. That's what it is. Like, don't use it as a mechanism to
Stepping stone.
Right. Like, don't get there and stay there. Use your resources for what you need to use them for. Like, don't be ashamed. Definitely do that, but definitely have a bigger plan. Have a goal, a bigger goal set out for yourself. So do you plan on opening any more businesses, or are you just going to kind of stick with the beauty thing, or kind of what's the future looking like for you?
So right now, I am taking a break from in-person makeup classes because I'm putting together an online makeup course. I'm going to have a few different tiers. So one's going to be client friendly. One is going to be for the makeup professional, someone who wants to make that their career choice. Um, I'm still in the form of like putting it all together, but I'm going to include like client etiquette, cleanliness, how to determine face shapes, eye shapes, what works for what, obviously products, skincare, different looks. The part of the reason that I did Priscilla No's makeup course in New York, which is Rihanna's makeup artist. So she's the lead artist of Fenty Beauty. Part of why I did her course in New York was just to make sure I knew everything that I could know when it came, because I didn't have the opportunity here to work red carpet glam. So when I went there, I wanted to make sure that I knew what that looked like, and I knew what different applications look like. And I want to be able to share similar things, not the stuff from her course, but that made me realize like there's a lot of people that can't, like they don't have the resources to fly out to New York for a 4-day class, pay for the class, stock their whole makeup kit with what is recommended. And there's so many makeup courses online. It kind of like gave me the idea. It's like I could help other people who are in situations like myself with that journey. So I'm in the midst of putting all that together.
That's exciting. So, like, after that, we'll have to do like a part 2 of the podcast, so you can kind of tell us how your class went and everything. So, that's pretty much our hour. It has been great. It doesn't even seem like it.
It's been an hour?
Yeah.
Girl, I did not even finish my
We didn't finish our wine. So tell our audience how they can contact you or reach you or get in contact with you on social media or book your services. You guys, hit her up. Like, her makeup and hair is always bomb. Definitely check her out.
Thank you. So my business website is www.mlaartistry.com. There is forms on there you can fill out for service requests. You can email me directly. My email address is info@mlaartistry.com. You can also find me on Instagram. I have 2 personal accounts. My professional is Maleigh McCloy, and you can see the name right under this live feed. And then my business account is MLA Artistry. So definitely reach out, connect. If you have questions, ask me. I'm more than happy to help in the way possible.
Most definitely. And if you guys want to see her come back on the So Looks Like podcast, you just let me know. I do take all requests. We have some interesting people coming up since y'all are here. Next week, we do have a fashion influencer, fashion blogger coming on. The week after that, we have a professional resume writer. So if you're looking to advance your career in the corporate field, definitely tune in for that. Someone says she does the best hair and makeup. Girl, yes.
Who said that? Where are we at?
Sarah Kate Little. I don't even see the comments. We haven't even addressed any of these comments. So I said
I did not even see the comment section.
Someone, like you said, one of the strongest people I know, Corbin. Amen, amen. Your attitude is everything. Hey, Jill. Hey, friend.
You're amazing. Thank you. Thank y'all for tuning in. I'm so sorry that we missed the comments because I was all caught up in conversation. I didn't even see the button.
Most definitely. And if you're just tuning in, you can definitely catch the replay. So it will be posted on our page. Subscribe on Apple. I will post this on there tomorrow. So if you didn't catch it, listen to it on your way to work or whatever that you're doing while at home in quarantine and being safe. Just search us So Looks Like.
Perfect. Be great.